Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. The Independent National Electoral Commission has presented its first witness at the Akwa Ibom Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal in the petition filed by Mr. Umana, the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress. At the resumed hearing of the petition in Abuja, the witness informed the tribunal that there were challenges with the card readers and permanent voters' cards, which did not affect the overall conduct of the election. He also told the court that the information from the data of the card readers was never transmitted instantly to the server at the INEC headquarters in Abuja.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has opened its defense in the petition filed by the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Umana, to challenge the results of the Akwa Ibom governorship election. At the resumed proceedings of the tribunal, the commission called its first witness, Mr. Pius Nwakwo, who is the head of ICT at the commission's office in Uyo, Akwa Ibom. Nwakwo informed the court that he served as an assistant presiding officer in all polling units. Attempts by the witness to comment on the information he received from the field was opposed by the lead counsel to the petitioner, Mr. Solomon Umo, who argued that it was not pleaded in the witness's statement. The witness, however, admitted that there were challenges with the permanent voters' cards and the card readers. Lawyers to Governor Emmanuel Odom and the People's Democratic Party expressed satisfaction with the evidence of the witness.
Speaking as a lawyer, I couldn't see any contradiction. And in any case, the business of a witness is not in regard to contradictions. He's supposed to testify as to what he knows on the issues in dispute between the parties. And as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly what that witness did.
I think we've had very useful evidence from the INEC staff on the challenges that INEC had during the election with regards to the card readers. The impression was created before that the card reader could send instantaneous information to their server. But that is not what the position was. He has clarified that position and has testified extensively on the challenges that they had on the field when the card readers were being used.
Lawyer to the petitioner equally expressed satisfaction with the evidence of the witness, saying they have been able to obtain the needed evidence for their petition.
I would want to say straight away, and in no means words, that we too are equally satisfied with what we were able to elicit from him in the course of our cross-examination. As it were now, it's a case of mutual satisfaction. At the end of the day, the umpire, which is the tribunal, is there to decide which way or the other the pendulum of justice will swing in the circumstances of this matter. The
Independent National Electoral Commission is expected to call more witnesses when the tribunal resumes proceedings.
The former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Tukur, has quit partisan politics and advised political parties to imbibe internal democracy in running their affairs. The former PDP chairman announced his retirement from active politics at a gathering to mark his 80th birthday. Alhaji Tukur also called on political parties to check the frequent defections of their members from one political party to the other.
The forum attracts local and international businessmen and women, as well as politicians. Alhaji Tukur takes to the podium. After reflecting on his career as a politician, he announces his retirement from active politics.
I deem it fit to use this opportunity of my 80th birthday celebration to announce my retirement from partisan politics. It is time. It is time to say goodbye to formal politics.
But before announcing his retirement, Alhaji Tukur decries the lack of internal democracy within political parties, including the main opposition party, People's Democratic Party, while asking party leaders to check defections among politicians.
Nigerian politicians have not yet internalized and applied the principle of internal party democracy. But the need to checkmate frequency of defection from one political party to the other can hardly be overstressed.
Apart from commending his courage to quit active politics, politicians at the event say the exit of Tukur as chairman of the PDP contributed to the party's poor performance in the last elections.
If he stands on something that he feels it is the best for the community, he will go for it. And it's very evident in the way he gave his leadership in PDP as the former PDP chairman. And I dare say that if Bamanga was the chairman of the PDP all through, it would have been difficult for the PDP to have found itself in the kind of situation.
I still think that Nigerian people will still need his wealth of experience towards giving undiluted, when I use the word undiluted advice to any leader that is on board. Because at his age, I wonder what anybody can do to him.
Bamanga Tukur was elected as the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party in March 2012, but resigned under pressure in January 2014.
There seems to be unresolved issues with the 2015 budget, and this is because the House of Representatives is asking questions about the non-implementation of most capital components of Budget 2015. The ad hoc committee of the House investigating the issue told reporters in Abuja today that the Ministry of Finance is yet to return the harmonized figures of pending projects as directed by the House of Representatives. Our correspondent Lanre Lasisi reports.
Their desires.
Last week, these agencies were told to return with relevant submissions that would help the House of Representatives understand why the capital projects in the 2015 budget are not being implemented. They returned this week with new submissions on the capital component of the budget.
557.379 billion was budgeted for capital expenditure, out of which 194.492 billion, which constitutes about 34.89%, has been released due to revenue challenges. Utilization by the MDAs has been 114.2 billion. 114.2 billion, which constitutes about 58.71%. 58.71% of the amount released, which leaves 80.292 billion or 41.29 yet to be utilized.
The Director General of the Budget Office also gave the lawmakers the current status of the nation's economy.
Accordingly, a total amount of 882.122 billion naira appropriated for both domestic and external borrowing has been fully raised. External debt stock as of June 30th, 2015 stood at $7.04 billion for the federal government and $3.42 billion for states and the FCT, giving a total of $10.31 billion. Domestic debt as of June 30th, 2015 stood at 8.396 trillion for the federal government.
But the lawmakers were not satisfied.
My own view on the presentation is that it is very sketchy.
How come that you are borrowing not to implement the capital budget? Meanwhile, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, specifically in sections 41A and sections 42, mandates the federal government that borrowing should be exclusively for capital expenditure.
Once again, the officials were sent away. They are to return in 1 week's time, hopefully with submissions that will not be contradictory, but submissions that would also address the concerns of this committee once and for all. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
All right, now to throw more light on the non-implementation of some capital projects in Budget 2015, I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by a member of the ad hoc committee of the Budget Probe, Honorable Nicholas Osai. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
Thank you, my sister.
All right, let's just start from here. From the sittings and from what you've seen, what are these projects that have not been implemented from your findings so far? I know that you've said what has come out has been contradictory so far, but what else have you found?
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of issues as regards the documents that have been tendered for the past 2 weeks to the Honorable Ad hoc Committee. Just like the issues that was raised by one of the members of the committee on issues of infraction on Section 41 and Section 42, and equally Section 26. And aside that, there were issues, when you look at the paper tendered by the Accountant General on issues of the revenue accruable, which is the actual, stand at 4.2 trillion, contradicting the one submitted by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, that stand as of August at 1.4 trillion. So you could see that the papers cannot agree. And issues also raised on the Shopee as per money released at 14.5 billion that was released according to the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, that is 14.7. And then it does not agree also with issue raised from the Budget Office at 14.5 billion. So you could see that the figures are contradicting.
Okay, let me just ask you this. Some people say that this is more of a transition budget, taking into consideration everything that was happening at the time the budget, came out and came about. Are you taking that into consideration, that we've moved from one government to the other? Perhaps they're trying to reconcile issues themselves?
I don't totally agree with you. A budget is a budget. The budget runs from January to December, and government is a continuous process. And I believe that where the government stops, the government carries on. And these are issues, critical issues. And we believe that these issues should not contradict themselves, and the document standard does not agree. So when you also look at the issues of the money that has been raised from the domestic fundraising, fundraised from the domestic by borrowing, it stands at about 500 and something billion naira. From the external borrowing through the bond market was also raised about from 300 and something billion, totaling to the neighborhood of 882.122 billion. That also has also been released to the Treasury. So the question we ask is that why is it that the budget is not implemented to the satisfaction of Nigerians? Because there's already money in the Treasury. What are this money doing? Just like one issue that was raised by one of our honorable members on issues of borrowing to fund capital projects and not to borrow to fund recurrent projects. So these are issues that were raised. About 33 good questions were raised at the committee sitting today, and which borders, and it demands for answers. So we discovered that there are also other issues that Central Bank has been invited, which appear today, but never tendered their paper. The National Planning Commission also were in the sitting today, which has also never tendered these issues. The Central Bank, recently released some monetary policies, and which they have to enlighten Nigeria.
Okay, are you worried? Let me just ask you again. Are you worried that Nigerians are a little bit probe-wearied? I mean, this is how we start with, the probe. We go on, we sit, and then after some time, we don't hear anything that comes out of it. So how are you going to do things differently this time around and ensure that we are not just going through a process here?
This is 8th National Assembly, and we are coming under the auspices of change in line with our president. This is National Assembly, 8th National Assembly, not 7th National Assembly, which I've also aspired by that. So this National Assembly is in line with the slogan of change, according to our president. And it borders on transparency. And whatever we do must be very, very transparent. We must be open and accountable to Nigeria. I think these are the issues. When a lot of issues border for answer, you also need to give, because we are not, through this investigation, to witch hunt anybody. But Nigeria wants to know the truth. The international community wants to know the truth so that dealing with Nigeria, and they will be open. So these are issues. So when legislators are embarking on these issues and they are contradicting figures, it borders that appropriate ministries and agencies must deliver to answer these questions and must be able to put their books in order. I think that necessitated the wisdom of the committee chairmen and the committee members to give them more time to be able to reconcile their books and tender this book before the ad hoc committee come Tuesday next week, and to also give opportunity to central bank to be able to enlighten Nigeria, to be able to highlight different issues on monetary policy, which they have also brought forward to the Nigerian economy.
All right, thank you so very much, Member, House of the Representatives Ad Hoc Committee Member on the Budget Probe, Honorable Nicholas Osai, for sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you.
Now, when the News at 10 returns, federal government woos experts on solar energy to invest in Nigeria. Do join us again.